I wonder if True is here. I was swaying to the music last night at True's celebration. I met so many freedom lovers. True gave an incredible performance. All the chairs were set up theater style in the yard in this woman's, at her amazing, beautiful home. Great food, dancing, laughter, hugs, lots of hugs, connection. Hello, Melanie from Kelowna. Swift Current, Saskatchewan. Hello, Laura. Esther, Surrey. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Steve. Ottawa. Wonderful. So Matt Willis tweeted, what are the chances that the same police chief, John Peltier, was in two completely different states? One was in Vegas, Nevada, when the deadliest mass shooting occurred. And then he's the police chief in Maui when the deadliest wildfire occurred. All planned. Yeah, right, Christina. Pure coincidence. What a world. And then meanwhile, Maui fire victims get $700 to get their life on track. And FEMA officials are getting $1,300 per night to stay at the Four Seasons in Maui. This is what I mean. We've been talking about this for such a long time. We are not here to rely on any government support whatsoever. We are being asked to wean ourselves off of every system right now. Yes, the only way they can appropriate land is through fire. So that's when the state comes in and then they propose new developments. This has been going on for hundreds of years, right? We are moving through the fire of transmutation. So to the degree that men and women do not move through their inner fire is the degree that we're going to experience the outer fire, within as without. Hi, Claudette from Saskatoon. Laura Jane from Cochrane. Hello, Olga. Yay. So who here is learning to delete the word person? Person, citizen, resident. As long as we refer to ourselves as thus, we remain stuck in their public domain, where the energy of all politics is designed to feed the beast, to keep us in that fear, indoctrination, and mind control. Okay. Yay, welcome to Life First Canada. I'm Karen of the Family Lesson. It's time for some real talk. We are here to remind you that you're not alone on this journey and offering you the space to really realize your true potential as we are navigating our way out of the matrix into the new earth. Today, we are discussing a few very important topics. Why good people obey bad laws. 15 signs you're under mind control. And of course, saying no to lockdowns this fall. False evidence appearing real. Before we move into our discussion though, let's hear from Karen Hanna and Laura Jane regarding updates. So go ahead, Karen.
Yes, a couple of things. We are looking for volunteers. If you have some skill sets that you think might contribute to Life Force Canada, maybe you're a writer or active on social media, marketing, we're looking for people who have maybe an hour or two a week that you could contribute. So I'm going to post a reminder in the chat. we also had put a notice in the last newsletter. So yeah, please step forward and let us know what your talents are. We might just have something that you could contribute. So thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we're going to be having a membership challenge in September. We'd like to challenge you to invite at least one new friend either every week in September. So please invite them to come on our Monday night calls. And with that, I yield.
Yay, Karen. Yes, bring one new friend. We can do this. Absolutely. Because we know that they're going to be stepping forward and planning their lockdowns. More people need to rise up right now more than ever. Thank you, Karen Hannah. Appreciate you. Laura Jane.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. I love it when we call for volunteers. I'm sure we can find lots of work. Anyway, I'm happy to be here tonight, and I am really stoked that we are actually moving forward with our private members. And so the first thing that I can announce is that we will be holding our first private members call on Tuesday, September the 5th. All the private members will receive a email that will invite them to that link. As things become a little more crazy, we definitely want to start moving more and more into the private and being able to discuss things a little more freely. And so we will be doing that. So September 5th is our first one. And in those calls, we'll be actually championing pioneers, who and what we're doing. And it'll be a forum plus education and all of those things. And in order to be part of it, by all means, I'm just going to quickly show you how you can do that. You can go on to the homepage and you go down to the bottom of the page. You can still be there for free. That'll be every Monday. That doesn't change. We have our calls every Monday. And as I told two friends and they told two friends, they can start for free and you may want to move to private. And then a private member, you join now. You click this button, it'll take you to some questions, and then it will take you right in. And so that is that part. We also will be creating our PMA directory. What this is we have a lot of our members are now operating private member associations. And so we will start building our directory, which will be for private members because it is kept in the private part of the portal. So our private members can list their PMAs, or they can go in and search PMAs in and around their area. So if you want to remove yourself from the public and seek the services, products, and all of that from those that have established PMAs, it will give you that extra level of privacy. All right, so that directory will be coming up in September. We'll be building that and creating it. And with that, I'll yield.
Yay. Thank you, Laura Jane. We've had quite a few people sign up this week for the online PMA course, which is very exciting. I also want to share that Laura Jane was interviewed on the Inspire Health podcast with Jason and Tia. She did an excellent job. And congratulations, Laura Jane. Do you want to share a little bit about how that came about?
Well, actually, yes, I will. It's an interesting story. I was contacted by a fellow on Vancouver Island who still thought I lived there. And they were talking about PMAs, and he spoke to Jason and Taya, and they got interested and they called me and they started just asking questions. They were doing their preliminary research, like, do we want this person on or not? So it ended up, after talking with them for about an hour, I guess, I ended up being interviewed. But what I suggested and what they loved was we brought on two PMA alumni. So it wasn't just about the PMAs. It was like, this is what we teach, this is what we do. But here are two success stories that have implemented their PMAs. So we had Alan Bro, with his PMA, and we had Stefan and Ariane with their PMA, which is in Vancouver Island. Of course, the other one is in Edmonton. And so they actually shared a lot of their information as well. And it actually ended up in resulting in a special class as well. So it was very exciting, and it was lovely to be there with not only talking about PMAs, but actually having people there that are walking it, that are doing it, you know. So we've got listings for our PMA directory growing every day. So thank you. It was fun.
It's such an incredible interview, Laura Jane. You are rocking it, because we all need to step into the private, because we know they can only sacrifice their own in their jurisdiction. It's important for everyone to really get that. So stepping into the private, stepping into your sovereignty is so key. Oh, thank you, Karen Hannah. Karen Hannah just posted the link to the interview. I highly recommend everyone watch it, because it's really informative, a knowledge share. You'll get a lot out of it. It's important to know, if you have a mindset that says, I am the one that's generating what is coming back to me, then you can go from victim to empowerment. There's going to be a lot of outrage as people awaken in the next few years. And it'll be important for you to have healed your own outrage, or your own anger, your own fears, your own shame, whatever that is, any suppressed emotions. And being able to do that responsibly, when you express it in a healthy way, it allows your heart to break open to a deeper truth. And then you own and tap into and integrate your authentic power. And this is when you are no longer tolerating the unintolerable. And this is what my program, Together We Rise course, is really all about. Because as you harness your anger, grief, anything that is below the line, you make room for Source then to bring you more life-giving moments instead of life-taking moments. So whatever emotions you're expressing, you're going to experience that in the outer world. As I mentioned earlier, the fires out there are an expression of humanity not connecting to their own inner fire. And as we align ourselves within, we follow the law of nature, right? Natural law states that what we put out, we receive. So if we are frowning on the inside, but yet we're like wondering why we're not receiving positive experiences, that's why, right? The laws of nature have a common source. And when you're living in accordance with the laws of nature, you drop down into a deeper level of trust, a trust that life is always going to have your back, right? When you invest in yourself and your own growth, life is always going to support you in magical ways. But if we're fighting against the natural forces within ourselves, we're fighting against our own soul's calling, that means you're living outside of the natural flow. And that's when we are now in that disempowerment loop of living below the line in fear-based consciousness, right? So we need to stop the fight between the ego and the soul. So the rule of thumb is, the more important a call or action is to our soul's evolution, the more fear we're going to feel towards pursuing it. So everyone just take a deep breath of life force energy. Breathing out. Yes, hello. When we trust and thrive, we can also better serve others. It's so important for us to align, heal, integrate, and then serve from that place. Thank you. Okay. Good people obey bad laws. So again, word has it that our government is planning on another lockdown this fall. Topher Field, he's one of Australia's leading human rights activists, asking the question, he asked the question in his speech in the Australian Freedmen Conference, do you have what it takes to limit government? Just breathe that in for a moment. Do you have what it takes to limit government? What is the limit of your obedience? Do you have a limit, or will you obey no matter what? Of course, you're not going to obey. You're a member of Life Force Canada. We've been taught that if you break the law, you're not a good person. We live in a world where good people do obey bad laws. Good people just follow orders. Good people assume that everyone giving those orders is automatically good. Isn't that amazing? They say it is my responsibility to follow orders. So in my research on the psychology of obedience, it is our desire to avoid change. We tend to stick to the rules and routines that we're used to. We obey rules that are ingrained in society because deviating might mean losing what we've already established, right? It means that we might lose out on friends or family, etc. We feel we have less to lose if we obey the rules, right? And that's because our lives will stay the same when we don't deviate. So just like choosing the same meal in a restaurant every time you go, we simply try to avoid regret. When we fear punishment, we obey rules. Authority figures have this kind of power. That is why they have police stand in that long lineup at the airport. You remember in 2021? And people would see the police and the fear would rise up. And so they would go to the right and have to go for their test. Well, except for Chris Sky, just so you know. There's also the element of anxiety, right, that we feel when it comes to consequences. We can be terrified of being scolded. We can dread having our luxuries taken away. If we disobey at work, right, we could lose our job. All of these subconscious programs. And obedience can be influenced also by that reward mechanism, right? In case we obey the rules and demands of others because we want to be rewarded in some way. And this could be rewards of praise, right? Having the family nod in agreement, you did the right thing. If you get the job, you get to keep your job, right? Family acceptance, acknowledgement. If we're missing that in any way, that's what happens. I love Timothy Leary had a statement. He said, a quote, "Human stupidity and ignorance is the only danger human beings face in the world." Okay, let's define a bad law. So if obeying or enforcing it causes more harm than breaking it, it is a bad law. If it breaches your unalienable rights or subjugates free people, then it is a bad law. We know this. This is the sharing for all those men and women out there when you share the link from YouTube. So many people are willing to break their consciousness to obey any law, no matter what the cost. So we witnessed this for our family, right? Friends, especially over the past few years, in obeying the mask mandates, getting the job, because they believed what the government was telling them. They are good people. And we get it, right? They've got big hearts. They believed it was the right thing to do. They believe that the government or the healthcare system is here to protect them. They believe that the mandates are law, that bylaws are law, which we know are not, not true. So how can we limit government? Through voting? I laugh out loud. People have been voting for decades and the powers are still trying to kill us. So nothing has changed. So far, we've all failed in that, right? Government has always had the appearance of working for us, especially when someone you believe has been elected. Like I know a lot of people believe in their premier. She's going to change things. No, she's not. It's the appearance of change. They actually have no power as they are under the thumb, right, of controlling forces. Topher reminds us that the only thing that limits the power of government is limiting your own obedience. So in order to have these injustices rectified, we have to break some rules. All of you rebels will love that. It is our knowledge that outranks the traditional hierarchies, is what Topher reminds us about. So yes, it brings risk. It can come at a high cost, but if you want freedom, it's going to be necessary to limit government. So we've been saying this for a long time now, since 2020. This means unplugging from all government systems. Not today, it doesn't have to be today, but you know, by say giving yourself a timeline by 2027 or whatever it is for you. And this is a journey that we're on. We know that we cannot rely on the government to save us if there is a disaster. We just have to look at now, we just have to look at Kelowna, we have to look at Greece and what's happening in Turkey, right? We see that very clearly. It is only through sovereign communities that we have power. We no longer need government. We are grown-ups, right, Laura Jane?
The adult mindset.
Yes. We do not need permission. Okay. 15 signs that you're under mind control. This is what Karen Hanna sent me last month. I'm finally getting to it. Thank you, Karen. This is from Jason Christoph. You've probably seen this already. Let me check here. Okay. 1. And of course, none of you are caught up in the mind control program. You are sovereign men and women. Okay, number 1, you think TV shows and movies are made to entertain you. 2, you think medical doctors are health experts. You think the government takes your money to build the roads. 4, you think that they spray poison on your food because of the bugs. 5, you know mercury thermometers are banned because mercury is extremely toxic, but you also believe mercury teeth fillings are completely safe in your mouth. 6, you think your vote counts. 7, you think the news is there to inform you and tell you the truth. 8, you think the government is there to protect you. 9, you think alcohol is healthy for you in moderation. 10, you think it's okay to research and ask questions about a new car purchase, a new house purchase, or a new appliance purchase, but you also believe it's not okay to research or ask questions when the TV tells you to inject something under your skin that's killing and crippling millions worldwide. That, of course, you need to trust. No questions asked and full steam ahead. Jason is so awesome. 11, you think a society of cowardly order followers run by psychopaths will keep moving ahead into the future without any interruptions. 12, you think that working for the clinical psychopaths as a government employee is the ultimate dream job, even though Big Brother is actively trying to remove you and your family because your pensions are already stolen and they don't want you to find out. 13, you think a society of perpetual pleasure seekers who don't want to work in order to earn their keep will always survive, and that having fun is one of your First Amendment rights. 14, you don't notice tyrannical authority trying to destroy you and your family as they keep telling you that that's all for equity, equality, freedom, human rights, or for your safety. And then number 15, you think poisons pushed your skin and taken into the mouth, prescribed by a person wearing a white butcher coat, is the only way to achieve optimal wellness and better health. And then he states, warning, side effects of being under mind control include, but aren't limited to, being broke, being overweight, being depressed, feeling powerless, being addicted to substances that numb you to your harsh reality, hanging around other mind-controlled people so you avoid facing your spiritual weakness, and more recently, heart attack, paralysis, myocarditis, dying suddenly, and parroting the phrase, trust the science. Talk to your doctor today to see if mind control is right for you. Some conditions apply. See your local government official or TV news channel for full details of your first-class 5-star ride to the abyss. Thank you again to Jason. Or you can just live above the line and take the Together We Rise online course to connect you to your true sovereign power. Okay, everyone, take a deep breath of your life force energy. You have the power right here. Okay, Doris has something amazing to share with everyone here. Doris, go ahead.
Hey, Karen, how are you?
Great.
Well, I don't know if it's amazing, but I heard sort of through, not firsthand, but through a few people that the city of Calgary, which is where I live, not sure how many of you on the call are from Calgary, but I've heard from a city planner that they're intending to have the population at 3 million by 2035. So that's almost, well, it's definitely more than double the current population and probably closer to 3 times, I'm thinking. So the Smart City agenda is well underway in Calgary, and yeah.
Isn't that incredible? And that's probably the plan for a lot of cities.
I'm thinking, and if anybody lives in Calgary, like you can really see, the building. There's so many condos that are coming up, like really teeny tiny condos. There's a lot of downtown. There's a lot of commercial buildings converting into residential. So that's kind of concerning, given that there's no balconies or anything.
They're like little cells.
They're teeny tiny, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and tons of them. Like you just see the building everywhere. And I mean, we saw it even years before, and you're kind of looking at it going like, what are they building all these for, right? And downtown is really blocked off. Like there's orange barricades pretty much on every street. Like there's really nothing going on, but it's barricaded. Like you can just tell that they're, building that 15-minute city. They're building a underground transit. So there's, also another street blocked off for that. Yeah, I can really see it here in Calgary. Would you agree with that, Karen?
100%. This used to be called the Redneck City, but that is not the case anymore.
No, not at all.
No.
So, yeah.
There was a street downtown and it felt like we were in Harlem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's massively changed.
Yeah. And it's going to keep changing. So 2035, that's only 11, 12 years from now. So
yeah.
And it's just getting more and more congested. I'm finding too, like it's really hard to get anywhere at any time of day. Like it used to be, during rush hour, it was busy, but now it's like all the time. And
thank you for that, Doris. I just thought that piece of information was important for everyone to hear.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let's say this together. I will not comply. I will not comply. Potential lockdowns coming. Dr. David Martin reminds us that there are 3 groups of consciousness that we are witnessing right now. So the first group will be the first in line to get the shots, to get the booster. They're going to play the part, of believing that we are overpopulated and climate change, but they're creating the overpopulation. We can see it right here in Calgary. The second group are the group who goes along with everything because they're in fear of losing their job. They're afraid to share the truth. They feel it is their responsibility to those they love. That really stops them from taking risks. And the powers to be, they know this. So they're going to be using these people that you love to ensure that they comply. And the third group is who we are, who said, never going to jab us, never going to get boosted, never going to put a mask on us. Good people will break bad laws. That's what I would call being sovereign. And also too, David mentioned that these 3 groups now are really a third and a third and a third of the population right now. So he believes the second group, like this fall, if there is lockdowns, that he believes that it's that second group that we all in the third group need to work on and to assist them in truly seeing the truth. And I believe that is true as well. We're not here to play the game again. We're here to start ignoring them so they won't be able to take our energy from us, right? Exercising your right, not complying, and being calm. As your anger and your frustration are spiritual powers that you are giving away to them, right? So if stores say you need to wear a mask, you're not going to shop there, right? So don't go in. We're not going to obey bad laws because bad laws are false laws. Okay, we're going to step into an open forum now. Virginia, go ahead.
I was just going to share that one of my egg customers, she lives in the city, and I said to her, I admire how you're learning about politics because she's like one of us. And she said, well, a year ago, I didn't know anything. I really didn't. And I've just been learning. And she said, then I decided I had to volunteer. So she volunteered for, I forget what it was exactly, but it was her community that the city planning had sent out announcements what they were planning to do. And the women that were part of this committee or whatever reviewing these things, it's innocuous, it's okay. And she decided to really read it over. And then she discovered that, so she went back to these women and said, did you realize that they are going to narrow the streets in front of the schools to 2 lanes? How are you going to pick up your kids? We didn't know they were planning that. And then where you go to shop, they're going to be taking away the parking. So, and narrowing those streets. And we didn't know that. They hadn't paid attention to what these things were, the city planning was planning. She found a whole bunch of these things and they were in shock because they just totally were going to accept it and say, oh, it sounds all good. The city's taking care of us. And it's not. That was just one thing I wanted to share, but there's another thing I wanted to share is quite some time ago. I looked up, I hope I can find it here, psychopaths, the occupations, the 10 favorite occupations of psychopaths. But I wanted to share that, of course, one of the most prominent ones that people wouldn't think of is doctors. Are often psychopaths. Lawyers, people would think of that one, probably.
Except for the doctors and lawyers that are here.
Not those ones, okay.
Thanks, Karen.
And journalists and media people are on the list.
That's your sister.
Often ministers, like pastors of churches can be psychopaths. So it was very interesting, all these 10 occupations. If I find it, I'll put it in the chat. But one that I think we really all need to be aware of is civil servants. They're on the bottom of the ladder. so to speak. But when you meet up with a civil servant who says to you, we can't do that, that's against the rules. You know, even when something really makes sense, they go like you were talking about in the last 15 minutes, is they go ahead and they go along with those rules, but they don't just go along with them. They wield them like a weapon because they've got those psychopathic tendencies and they want that control factor. So even lowly civil servants that you would think are maybe in our category, people who would be concerned, that's one of the occupations that psychopaths like to be in. So I just wanted to share that fact.
Thank you, Virginia. And politicians, thank you, Elaine. Yes, politicians. And Melanie shared teachers, yes, and Brian shared any authority position. It's a lot of times it's the people that were bullied when they were children, and now they have the opportunity to be a bully as an adult and are given permission to do such. Yes. Thank you, Virginia.
You're welcome. I'll put it in the chat when I find it.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and it's amazing too. The worst crimes in history didn't have anything to do with the people attacking each other, you know, chaos. Always been systematic. Wars have never been started by the people. It's always been the masters. But yeah, we're trained from an early age to accept higher authority as normal. And most people really just move into this submission, conformity. Sarah, hello, yay.
I was just curious, Doris, the information you had regarding the city, was that something you saw in documentation or heard from a certain person or department? I'm just really curious about that.
Yeah, I heard it from somebody who had spoken with somebody at the city. So it was, like I said, it was secondhand, but it came through, yeah, somebody that I knew.
Okay. All righty. I just wondered how kind of in the public that information was, or where you could get it, or how behind.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any
it
documentation on it. Like I said, it was just something that I heard through somebody. So
right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Scary.
Yes, it is. It's
yeah.
My goal is to be out of Calgary within less than 5 years.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Karen. We live in the same neighborhood, and I don't know what's going on with that street, man, but it's just like sitting wide open, all chewed up, like taking forever to finish whatever. And it's really strange. So it's pretty obvious that the whole sort of structure of what's been built and all the ring roads and like just everything in the last 5-6 years is pretty excessive for a city this size. I mean, it does get people around quickly, but I could never get it. I just seemed unnecessary at a time when there was like so much financial hardship and so on. But anyway, my 2 bits.
Thank you. Yes, for everyone here who's not familiar with where we live, it's called Marda Loop, and there's a street, 33rd Avenue is the main street in this community. And they completed one side of the road. They had it cut off for quite some time, paving it, but they dug down maybe, I don't know, 2 feet or so, and they completed it. And if you look at the remaining other parts of the road in the different streets, the road is fine. It did not really need to have any work done to it, but they completed, and everyone's thinking, yay, finally we get to enjoy this 33rd Avenue with ease and grace. No, the next week they decide to just tear apart the next street, and it really didn't need to be torn apart. But it's a make work project, and they're just creating them everywhere for no reason.
Yeah, I concur. And that's been going on all through the pandemic too downtown. I mean, the streets have been blocked off for years for no obvious reason. So
Exactly. They don't want us
Bye.
in those cars. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gilbert, go ahead.
Just a note, I pronounce my name Gilbert because I'm French, so I come by Gilbert. But that's okay. Whatever comes out works. I just wanted to add to what people have been talking about how cities are getting more and more messed up. I live in downtown Toronto, and over the past 5 years, some of the main streets that we have used for decades to sort of get quickly across the city, and some of these streets have been like 4-lane one-way streets that kind of cross to the west side of town or the east side of town. All of a sudden, they're reduced now to 2 lanes. They've got these massive bike lanes all over the place. They're squeezing every single street down, narrowing all the streets. Construction here as well, I can report, has just gone through the roof. You everywhere you look, there's even like the tiniest little spaces that it might be available downtown where you'd think, oh, there's a tower going up there too. All the streets, the speed limits are now reduced to 30 downtown. So they're just making it really, really difficult to get around, and making it, my wife and I always comment, they're just discouraging us from leaving the house because it's a pain in the ass. Whether you have a 15-minute city or not, officially, it still feels like I would rather stay close to home, because trying to pick something up, that's a little bit farther away is awful. And so we end up kind of staying close to home because it's easier. So we kind of like already are living at kind of a 15-minute city, even without the actual imposition. And I think a lot of the streets at some point were blocked off. Listen, the main street here downtown, Queen Street, they've closed it for 3 blocks for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
For 5 years, it will be closed. And it has created such havoc downtown. You can't believe it. And I want to say something else that I read today, an article about Southeast London. They had over 1,000 cameras installed for the sole purpose of identifying cars that were not energy efficient, I guess non-electric. And they were finding people with these cameras. They were spotting, I guess, their license plate and finding them like 15 pounds a day if they were driving in these low pollution zone. And if you had a car that was a gasoline operated car, you would get a 15-pound ticket every day that you drove there. And I read today that there's a group of people that call themselves Blade Runners, and they have taken down 95% of those cameras.
Yay!
In London. I know, it was like, and 95% of them are now not functioning. And I thought, oh my God, I was so happy that there are people out there willing to take that risk. Anyways, those are my tales of the city. I'll yield.
Thank you for correcting me. I really appreciate that, Gilbert. This is happening in every country. And if it's not happening right now, it's eventually going to. This agenda is everywhere. And I do believe that our soul mission, our calling, wherever we are planted right now, is divinely perfect. You're meant to be here right now to work with what you have and shift consciousness here. Wherever you live, you are to shift consciousness in that part of the world, in that part of Canada, in that part of the province, in that part of your community, wherever you are. And if you're being called to move anywhere, then yes, step into that. However, it's really tuning in to the calling. And I know that the moment I receive that, it must come from my higher self. It can't just be coming from my ego that says, ooh, move from a place of fear. No, you never want to move from a place of fear, because you're just not going to get the results you want. Doris, I think, wants to speak into that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I do have some friends that bought some property in Mexico. I think it's I don't even know. I don't know Mexico well. Porto Vanica or something like that. Anyway, they bought a piece of land a couple of years ago, and they've been wanting to build, and it's really been quite a nightmare ever since. They really had trouble getting building permits, and just sort of the systems down there. And anyways, most recently, the community has decided that, they don't want people from Canada or wherever moving into their communities. So they've recently sort of encountered this pushback in terms of them not even having legally bought the land. So now they're kind of fighting that and going, well, no, we've got the deeds and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know where it's going to go, but this was just a few days ago that they mentioned sort of that. Now, the good news is I guess that land that they did purchase has gone up in value quite a bit since they bought it. So hopefully they'll be able to recoup their money, if they can't build, but I know that they do love the area and want to get their project done. It's not without its challenges.
Thank you, Doris. And it's not Puerto Vallarta, it's outside of Puerto Vallarta, right?
It's not Puerto Vallarta, no. It's something West Candido or something like that. Sorry, I don't remember the name of it, but.
Thank you for sharing that. We mentioned that about a year ago in regards to people potentially going into other countries. And again, it's like they have to put up with the cartel. Push comes to shove, it's going to be really challenging for a lot of people. So where you're being planted right now is, again, divinely perfect, because your consciousness is there to be expressed. When you are tapped in to source is always going to show you where you're meant to be. Source is always going to take care of you. When you are thinking not of the wanting of what's missing out there, source is always going to provide. So it's a mindset shift. And this is why I created the Together We Rise program. It's so important for us to really understand the power that we have. And we're not going to ever find that power outside in the world. You're only going to find the power when you go within and you shift consciousness from within. You begin to really look at your belief system and all the negative beliefs that you've had that have locked you into this disempowerment reality. It's so, so key to begin to do this work. So for example, okay, this is a very simple example, but this is the new earth. This is the realm of fifth dimensional consciousness. This is how it works. I was sharing this with Claire and Carol. They took me out for brunch yesterday. I was so grateful, and it was just so enjoyable as always. I had a thought because my stuff is in storage. I'm in the middle of moving right now, and I only have summer clothes. So I'm thinking to myself, I need to buy some pants. That was it. I just focused on, I needed to buy some pants. That was it. And the thought left me, and I just went on about my day. So then the next day I'm out with Doris, and her and I usually go for a 2-hour walk. Then we'll just go get something to eat. And we just have this amazing day of movement, great conversation. We just happened to be in this neighborhood in Englewood, and there's a clothing store that we walked by, and she said, hey, let's just go and check it out. And I walked in and walked up to this rack, and there before me was a pair of pants. I did not tell Doris that I needed a pair of pants. I didn't focus on it at all. It just shows up. Whatever we need is just going to show up with the law of least effort. And because I'm tall, some of you may not know that, but whoever meets me, they always say, oh my gosh, you're so tall. I'm almost 5'11". And so I need a very long pant. And this store sells long pants. So of course I bought it. That is how the law of abundance works. We think a thought of what we need, it will manifest. If you're meant to have it, it will show up with ease and grace. And that is when we're living above the line in freedom frequency. You have to know that there is only abundance here. There is never lack. Lack is just a lie that we've been sold. Okay? Gary. Hi, Gary.
Thanks, here. That's very good what you just pointed out there. I got a question, Ken. I've got to change my banking system. I just wondered if you or Laura Jane or anybody want to show their experience they're having or an update with Sovereign Bank, or which they're not open yet. They hope to launch here this fall. The last I was at their website. I haven't been on any of their calls for over a month now, probably 2 months. Or their experience, what Bull Valley Credit Union is really offering.
Thank you. Very great question. I know that Sovereign Bank is still raising capital, and I do believe they're quite a ways from achieving their goal. However, and again, anyone can ask a question, and if I can't answer it, I will always ask for this brilliant group to answer the question. When it comes to banking, it's remembering this, okay? Even though we have the birth certificate person, we want to learn how to use the person for our benefit. So Laura Jane and I have been teaching this for quite some time, where we're in the public jurisdiction, we want to cross the bridge and over to the private, which is our sovereignty. However, we are learning how to use the public domain for our benefit, for our privileges. And it's remembering that a bank account is in the name of the person, right? Your all caps name, that they are only the holder of the container. So it is your man, woman, sovereign man or woman who owns the money in that container. So it is the money is your power, that is in your control. So we can still use the bank system right now for our own purpose until such time as a new system is up and running. And when that time comes, it's again, I do believe in divine timing. It's all going to show up when we're ready, because this old system is not going to be for the new earth. Absolutely. It's a very archaic anyway. Does that answer your question, Gary? Yeah.
I realize we're going to be in the other system, the parallel system to the public. And I guess for the moment, I'll probably just go make the trip down to Airdrie or Calgary and do the Bull Valley thing and see what my experience is going to be there.
I get it.
Okay, thanks very much, Karen. Thanks for everything you and Laura Jane are doing. Awesome.
Thank you, Gary. Glad you're here. It's going to take time for all of us to shift. Gilbert.
I've been having conversations with the farmer from whom I buy raw milk about this private member association and so on. He's been to court many times to defend himself with this raw milk thing. And, without getting into the weeds about it, he's adamant that you can say you're not part of their jurisdiction or that you're a sovereign person all you want. When you're standing there in front of the judge and they say, like, you're guilty of this or whatever, and off you go. It's going to be almost impossible to extricate yourself out of that thing. And frankly, I don't know enough about it to actually say whether that's possible or not, but I don't understand how you can extricate yourself if you find yourself in a situation where you're in court and you're before a judge. I don't know how in that moment you're going to extricate yourself out of the system per se, just by claiming to be a sovereign person or to be part of a private members association. That part of me eludes me.
Yeah, you never want to really claim yourself as a sovereign in their court. They can't hear you anyways. So they cannot hear a person, citizen, or resident. They don't see you. There's person, citizen, or resident. We can't talk. We don't know how to walk. Right? We're not mature adults. We're not even, to them, we're dead entities. So they will never hear us. We must go in and claim the law. We bring the law. We are the ones who bring the law to the judge. We never are asking the judge permission or anything. We're bringing the law to them, because you, as a sovereign man or woman, are actually higher than a judge.
But you must, if you want to even begin to do that, you have to have the mastery of the language to be able. And so his point, to get back to my milkman, his point is that you're better off to learn the language and beat them at their own game in that situation.
Yes, this is what we teach in our Sovereign Community Leaders weekend course. And
it's also in PMA too.
And PMA, this is what we teach in our courses, because the Together We Rise course teaches you how to become a master of your own emotional body, right? Mental mastery, spiritual mastery. And then when you have a connection to source, you're walking in, not just to a court, but anywhere in your life. You're walking in as the power, the authentic power that you are. And when they know that you know who you are, then you're outside of their jurisdiction and they must walk away.
Yeah.
And so it is a process. It's a learning.
What about all these people that are being tossed into jail right now? What about Tamara Leach and all these people? They just, she can stand up and say, I'm who I am. But, if you're still being carried off by the sheriff into jail, then what do you.
It's the same as what Cal has shared, and Dean and Paul and Jonathan from Sovereign's Way, is that there's the tricks and traps of the court, and our ego can get caught up in the languaging, the legalese, and the once we bring in any legalese, we are trapped in their system. Gotcha. So we need to relearn, unlearn everything that we've been taught, and go forward in a very simple way. And it is very, very simple in how we gain our power. It's just that the legal system, the political system, the education system, all the systems have created complexity. And so as we unwind and detangle ourselves from that complexity, we're going to discover, oh my gosh, how come we didn't do this decades ago?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, great question. Yes, and it's amazing how we, in our course, we have the guidelines that we share, and we don't share these templates for people to go to court. We do not ever want you to go to court. The reason why we share them is because you're expressing words that you most likely have never expressed in your entire life. And as you're expressing these words, it ignites your heart. It ignites a power inside of you. And you just feel like you're 6 feet tall or 7 feet tall. You shift consciousness. And that's what these words are for, because the language we've been taught is known as Babel, and we're stepping out of their language and stepping into sovereignty in the language of a sovereign man or woman. And Gilbert, it is very easy once we get there. But again, it's the journey that we're all on. So we just need to be patient with ourselves. We'll get there. We do, we're going to be going to Kelowna to teach the course. Calgary, looks like we're going to have it in Calgary potentially as well, and Ontario. So to me, it's the difficult challenge that most people are having is when you step into sovereignty as an individual, it can be a very challenging journey. So the reason why we have this course is because now you have community speaking the same language, not just one individual man or woman. You have everyone now on the same page. That's why our power is in the town, our power is in community. So when you have someone who, as Brian is sharing, they're not getting their driver's license, it can be very challenging and fearful. But when you have an entire community stepping up and doing this, that is where our power is. It's very, very exciting. Go ahead, Laura Jane.
Oh, thank you. I did want to speak into that, Gilbert, because when you are actually standing in your own power, you don't read a script. And that's where a lot of these folks have failed when they go into court, is because they're just reading a script, but they don't understand or understand what those words mean and how to deliver them. So that's a really big part of learning, you know, and that is where the power comes in the courses that we're doing, is because it's really, you have to be sovereign in yourself to have a PMA, to have a sovereign community, and to really live the parallel outside the public and in the private. So this is all a journey that we're on. I love it. It just lights my fire every day I get up. The one thing I wanted to point out is more and more communities are starting to do their own coin. They are starting to produce their own sovereign currency. And when you do that, what you're actually doing is you're coming together as a community and agreeing upon what you're going to use, and consider that in terms of what you're going to get your compensation for your trade in. And that is really neat to see. We've got more and more coming. I know one small town has been doing that. They've created the one small town coin. But when you are building communities and the communities are taking it to that level, that's a sovereign community. That's a community that has said, we trust each other. We know what each other is, what our value is, and we are going to express that. And we're going to express it outside the banking system. We're going to express it by putting our own bank together. We're going to have our own pooling of money, a cooperative kind of bank, and that's how we're going to support each other. So it's really thinking outside the box. You know, when you graduate from university, you wear a mortarboard. That's the box that you're putting on your head. That's what they've trained you into. So we're getting rid of that mortarboard. We don't need it, because it is just being containing and squishing down our creativity and our beautiful power that they don't want us to see. You know, so it is a very exciting and very challenging time that we're in. You know, so it's a bit of both. It's kind of like, oh yay, and it's oh shit, oh yay, oh shit. You know, so that's kind of where we go. So as long as you have more yays than shit, you're okay. All right. Okay, and with that terrible language, I will yield.
It's all great, Laura Jane. Thank you. Yes, it's like 10 minutes below line. Thank you. I wanted to speak into, yes. Okay, so Oleg agreed they're under attack from those bastards. Okay, so every time that we're angry with them, what are we doing? We're giving them power. We need to reframe and let go of our anger towards them, because that continues to feed them. Instead, we want to shift above the line and begin to focus on the future that we really, really want to create. Because remember, those bastards, okay, are actually awakening humanity in some way. They have a purpose as well. They have the purpose, because it's really a shift in consciousness is what's happening on this earth right now. And as Laura Jane said, it's a very exciting time to be alive, to be a part of this awakening, to be a part of the shift in consciousness. You are all pioneers here. It's always more difficult for the ones who are leading the way. Wanda, yes, we have to honor our feelings and then step back and see the bigger picture of what is happening and go into appreciation and gratitude. Yes, there are no negative feelings. There are no negative emotions. That is a big lie that we've been taught. We either are in fear or we are in love. And we're here to dissolve the fear, and all perceived negative emotions are in fear-based consciousness. And those are the traps of the collective 8 billion people. So the anger that you're experiencing is not, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the collective, but we've entrapped ourselves in that way. So it's just learning how to unplug from those emotions, to feel everything that's alive inside of you, and then begin to step into gratitude. So thank you, Wanda, it's great. Claire and Carol, yay.
I just a couple of quick things. One is that I agree that what you're saying, Karen, that we're all here in wherever we're supposed to be in order to be that expansion of, the light of consciousness to spread out for the people wherever that happens to be, and unless of course we're called to go someplace else. The other thing is, I was at the post office today, we're mailing off some of our homeopathics, and one of the ladies, the postmaster, was saying about how the prices of mail is going up again in September, and she made some comment about it's really getting too expensive for people, and so I mentioned about, well, that's the plan, to see about putting people out of the business, and all of a sudden she just lit up, and she was talking about how she sees what's going on. She said this whole COVID thing is just a farce, and while we were talking, another lady came in with some packages, and she was listening, and she said, "Oh, it is so nice to be able to have a conversation like this with that." She says, "I'm a teacher, and I'm just finding it, it's just so difficult. So to know that there are other people around." So here we were, there was another lady there, just kind of not sure what was going on, but it just shows that it does. More and more people are waking up, more and more people are willing to speak. And I think that what we're going to be seeing is that some of these people are going to speak up. They'd be pushed to the line, and they're not going to do that anymore. Just one other thing too is in what you were saying about the I am part of things, that when we use the word I am, as you know, it means that we are taking the activity of God personally, like we're taking that into ourselves. So when we come from that space, we cannot fail. We just have to know the power of who we truly are. And then when we say that, and that's why it's so important to be careful what we say after the word I am, because we don't want to attract anything that is less than the divinity or the power that we are. And our important thing is not to say that and then question it through our outer activity, because then that gets in the way. Nothing can stop the I am from coming through unless we qualify it into a negative way. So I just thought I'd throw that in. So
we so appreciate your wise words, Claire, and thank you for sharing that about the post office. Yay! Yesterday, I should have been giving you a whole stack of Life Force Canada business cards. We're putting out, as Karen Hanna mentioned, the challenge to invite and send out the lifeforcecanada.ca website to all your friends, and to know that we are growing our community. This fall is going to be challenging for a lot of people, so we know that we are all supported. And again, as Claire mentioned, right, I am prosperous. I am sovereign. I am, right? Because whatever we put after I am, we become. Together we rise, everyone. Lots of love.